This is the Battlecode 2019 Crusade High School Tournament. For those who are not following along, we currently uh, have the high school bracket in a challenge on BC19 underscore HS. So what we're going to be doing today is running through starting with the top 8 teams in the winners bracket and the top 8 teams in the losers bracket. And we've already updated all of the matches beforehand. So you can check out your team and see how you guys did and see if you guys are. We're going to stream that. So. Oh, wait, no, we're not.
Oh yeah, can I undo that?
Oh, yeah, undo that. Okay, well.
Oh, can we not undo that?
I guess not. Okay, well, that's all right. Anyways, so we'll be beginning with the top 8 winners and the top 8 losers, and we'll be watching basically all of those games and see how those go along. Some other announcements will be for all finalists, the deadline to submit is tonight at 8 p.m. EST, so basically in 5 hours. If you're taking this class for credit, the deadline to submit either a scrimmage win to devs or submit a report, which we'll have a link out shortly, is 8 p.m. EST on Thursday. And then if neither of those apply to you, we look forward to seeing you on Saturday. We have a tech talk planned by Disney earlier in the day, and then we'll have the finals tournament at 6 p.m. Both of them will be happening in the Status Center. Great. So with that, we can start with the matches. So our first matchup is going to be Deus Vault and Unlimited. Deus Vault as red and Unlimited as blue. Great. So starting off, we have a fairly large map, a lot of nice resources. For these first few games, we're going to slow down the speed at the very start, just because resources are pretty important in this game. We want to watch how the pilgrims are progressing. So yeah, here we go. A little bit faster. Okay, so we produced our first pilgrims. It looks like blue has also produced a crusader to accompany its pilgrims. Red has started producing prophets. Oh, this is Firefox.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it is.
Oh, well done. Well,
Yeah.
that's right.
Okay, yes. Okay, so we're going to speed this up a little bit just because this is also going to round 1000. It looks like blue is being a little bit more aggressive and going into what is the enemy's half of the territory, and that crusader is actually chasing around that pilgrim and manages to destroy it, which is great. Blue's pilgrims have managed to find their way pretty far out. It looks like that pilgrim is going to make the same mistake. The red pilgrim is coming over to the crusaders again and may or may not be wiped out. We'll see. So far, no one's built a castle yet, so let's speed this up a little bit to see what else is happening. All right, one church built, not castle, one church built by blue. Another pilgrim from blue, and another pilgrim from red being destroyed by that one crusader that's protecting its territory. Blue has also started making profits and they're moving out from one of their castles. At the same time, it seems that red is also building up quite a defense over here with its profits. So far, red has not made any churches, but blue has made 3 churches so far in pretty good resource areas. Also, there's a castle by red that has no pilgrims at all, nothing, just sort of chilling there. All right, so speeding up quite a bit further, we start seeing that there are now 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 churches, and yeah, that's definitely impacting the game because blue is just managing to build up so many more units than red is. We're going to speed this up even further. Nice. We see blue has a pretty nice spread between between preachers and prophets, and the Crusaders in the early game to really protect those. Looks like these pilgrims are a little bit smarter, not just getting away from that Crusader. All right. It seems that Blue has opted to make a lattice of prophets, so we're going to just take the slider over here and see what goes on. So it looks like Blue is amassing quite a bit of carbonite, but not really building any new prophets. So actually, Red is slowly catching up in the unit health department. Alright, in the end we have that Blue wins, so that is a win for Deus Vault. Or sorry, Unlimited. So we'll move on to the second round of this match. So now we have Deus Vault as Blue and Unlimited as Red. Only one castle, but this is still very rich in resources. Alright, great. Again, we see Unlimited coming out with Crusaders protecting its pilgrims. A pretty good idea. And immediately building a church, basically right in front of Blue's doorstep. Great. 2 churches. So far, Blue has only built a prophet, which is not too great. Alright, let's speed this up even further. Alright, so yeah, so we start seeing this lattice pattern, and Red has actually taken over 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, taken 6 churches. Also a little small one over here. And it's built up quite a large army. Blue has not built anything, which is unfortunate. Alright, and we're just going to speed this up. It seems that both teams are not making any sort of offense. So Red is slowly building up its building more churches. It's building more lines of prophets. This is more than it did last time, but it still has quite the considerable amount of carbonite. Alright. Actually, at the very end here, we saw that these castles were taking damage, but in the end, Red still wins by unit health. So in this case, we have both rounds going to Unlimited. So, so it's been updated. So Unlimited wins this matchup, and we'll be moving on to VVVVV and Knights of Camelot. Are the new URLs in? Okay. Is it starting with KD5?
Yes.
Okay, great. Alright, so moving on. So V is Red, and Knights of Camelot will be Blue. Yes. Knights of Camelot. Great. Over here we see that the castles are pretty close together. We're going to slow down these first few rounds and see what they're up to. Right off the bat, Knights of Camelot have brought out a Crusader to protect its pilgrims. Very nice. And going for more resources. Yeah, let's speed this up a little bit. Blue has built a church up in a little bit north. Red has actually started building up prophets. Great. So, Knights of Camelot just picking off that pilgrim that tried to go up here. Very nice. Alright, and Blue taking the upper hand in terms of production, building up a lot of churches. This pilgrim over here seems a little bit afraid to do anything, but we'll see what happens. And we'll speed this up a little bit. Knights of Camelot ends up making churches on every clump of resource possible. Very nice. Very nice. That's a lot of units. And Red also taking its time to make a prophet lattice. Although for them, it seems that it's every once in a while trying to send a pilgrim out to some location and sort of failing just because blue has successfully guarded all of its resource deposits. Great. Let's move on. We're going to turn 1000, so I think we're just going to move on to sliders. So blue ends up building so many units. Yeah. Seems that they have a decent thing going on. Red actually has started moving preachers to attack, but nothing is quite working. They're not really succeeding because of just how many units and profits that blue has. Great. So in the end here, we have Knights of Camelot winning by 20,000 unit health. And we'll move on to the next round of this matchup. So now Knights of Camelot is red and V is blue. Alright, 3 castles. And let's start this off. Make it a little bit slower. Alright, great. Both teams making their pilgrims. Knights of Camelot, again, taking Crusaders along to protect its pilgrims as they go out to these resource depots. Great. Excellent. We're starting to see maybe the first churches being made. Oh. Okay, 1 pilgrim coming back and depositing its stuff. Church being built over here, which is great. Blue has not made any churches so far, although it does have a pilgrim over here, which is great. A second church has been made over here, and we'll speed this up. All right, Prophet sniping off the pilgrim that was over the blue pilgrim that was over here. Now we have a red church location, but a blue church location also over here. Great job to both teams. We'll move on to later in this. All right. Again, blue sending along preachers to, I guess, like suss out the other team, but not really getting very far just because of how many profits each church location has. Blue is also building up these like church profit lattices all around itself. All right, neither team seems to be making successful attacks at each other. We're going to be moving on. Yeah, it seems that we're just going to have a lot of units. So yeah, you'll see that blue is sending pilgrims along to areas, but not really succeeding because they've all been taken over by red units. And after a while, oh, that was pretty interesting. After a while, what we sort of see is we have these preachers coming over here and immediately getting shot down by just how many prophets there are over here. That was an interesting snip. We'll continue on with the sliders. All right, blue and red both building up their economies. Blue, red having just so many profits. Both teams actually building up a lot of profits. Oh, okay. And so in the end here, we have Knights of Camelot winning as red. They actually won both their rounds, so good job for them. And they'll be moving on to the next round. All right. So the next round matchup is going to be Code Olympians and Kryptonite. All right, so let's just put those in. All right. So we'll start off here. We have 2 churches on the sides, a like pretty risky central area full of resources. We'll see what teams do. Immediately, red sends a prophet to guard its pilgrims. Very nice. It seems, yeah, making an immediate church. Very good for itself. And red is able to defend itself. Actually, red sniped off a pilgrim that was over here. Blue is also building profits, but they don't seem to be protecting this. They're not really interested in protecting this central area more than they are protecting this castle, it seems. We'll move on. We build a second church in that central area. Pilgrims are over here. trying to go over here, but obviously seeing these preachers or prophets and being really scared of them. Really funny jig that they are doing, but unfortunately it does mean that they are using up a lot of energy in the process. Let's speed this up even further. It seems that these pilgrims don't really know what to do. That pilgrim is just sort of looking at things. Oh, but we do have action in the central area, which is great. It seems that we do get some offensive tactics from one team or the other. These prophets are just sort of chilling here now. Doesn't seem much is happening, so we're going to speed this up. Yeah, both teams are building up their prophet lattices. Very nice. Although it does seem that Red has the upper hand in terms of production. Let's see how that turns out. Yeah, and it does seem that Red wins by unit health over here. So that's one for Code Olympians. We'll move on to the second round of this game. So now we have Code Olympians as blue and Kryptonite as red. Alright, and let's just continue. Let's just start off. This is a pretty big match. Again, we see that Code Olympians have taken a prophet along to protect its resources and have actually sniped off a pilgrim that moved over there. Alright, so blue, again, taking over that central area. Actually, a little fight happened over here with these prophets trying to protect their pilgrims, but these prophets actually ended up protecting this area. Blue ends up building more and more churches. Blue has built a church in... Blue has built a church over all the resource depots that weren't already claimed by the castles. Very good for them. Alright, so now we have a lot of prophets just sort of doing a conga line over here somewhere. I guess they're building, opting to build like their little prophets lattice formation up in the front. But now they're sort of waltzing around everywhere, not really sure if they're forming something. Either way, it looks pretty cool. So let's move to the sliders. We have a lot of turns left. Over here, oh my goodness, that is a wall of prophets. Okay, and we see the same wall happening up in the north. If you want to see in the north up here, we sort of have the same line of prophets. A little bit less successful. It looks like there's a little bit of fighting going on up in that northern border. But we do still see this like dogpiling of prophets, which is pretty interesting. If Red was building any preachers, that would be a pretty juicy target for them, just because of how many units you can get in one blow. But unfortunately, it seems that neither team has made that many offensive movements. A little bit of fighting over here, just because their walls are built pretty close to each other. In the end, we have blue winning with 16,000 unit health. And so over here, that means Code Olympians has won both matches, which means they'll be moving on to the next round. Again, we're running double elimination, so Kryptonite will still be in the catch-up bracket. Alright, next up we have Palette and Citric Sky. Great. So Palette as red and Citric Sky as blue. And let's see how they do over here. Alright, so very large map, 3 castles each. Resource deposits really in the center over here, so it'll be a race of who can get their stuff out faster. So it seems that both teams start off making their pilgrims. Very nice, very nice. It seems that Palette is making a move for that central area first. Let's see if that turns out well for them. Yep. Oh, okay, and now both teams are sort of moving to that central area. Palette has, Citric Sky actually put down a church right in front of that other red pilgrim's face and sniped it off with a few prophets as made. Yeah, and that seems to put Citric Sky sort of in the lead up here, just because they've had a little bit more resource. a lot more resources and pilgrims. This central area is quite rich in fuel and also in carbonite. We have profit lattices going up here. We see Palette sort of building this really cool like line of Crusaders, and that's pretty cute. Sort of these profits down here are sort of doing some sort of jig. Not sure what's going on there. Let's move this a little bit faster. We see Citrix Sky building up a quite formidable lattice of profits, and Palette sort of also doing some. Oh, okay. Let's start there. It seems that Palette was sort of waiting for their profits, and now they're actually going out and attacking with them, which is great. It seems that these profits are making a dent in Citrix Sky's defense, although just because there are so many more blue units, it looks like they're just getting picked off. Alright, pretty interesting behavior though. Let's see if that happens again. We're going to move back to sliders and see if we have any more of that behavior. Blue ends up building a very large defense, and at the end, blue wins with 20,000 unit health. So that's pretty awesome. And we'll move on to the second round of this match. Now Citrix Sky is red and Palette is blue. A much smaller match. So let's begin. Again, red is, both teams are making their way to the central location, which is great, trying to claim all those resources. Red is able to put down a church first, which in the last matchup round was able to put them in the lead. Okay, and red also builds a prophet, which ends up sniping both of the pilgrims that wandered over, which is awesome. We'll move on to be a little bit faster. Red plants a church in both of on both of the resource clusters. All right, and both teams start building their defenses. We remember seeing Palette actually using their profits for offensive attacks, but we'll see if they do the same this round. It seems that they're having a little bit of a harder time building up their wall just because of how close these guys are. All right. Yeah, we see a little bit of fighting every once in a while just because of how close this cluster is to the castles. So it would be pretty optimal if red actually went and just stormed their castle because there's not too much defense. Let's see if anything happens for rounds and rounds. So far not. At some point, red decides to build a lot of Crusaders. Oh, and we start seeing some action. We'll go back and sort of watch that. So after a while, we start seeing that we'll see Palette actually making their break, making their move. Unfortunately, getting completely picked off, which is unfortunate. Red continues to build a lot of Crusaders, sort of filling in the holes between profits with Crusaders, which is pretty nice. And we'll just watch to the end of this round. And yeah, so we have over here that Palette or Citrix Sky wins by 8.2 thousand unit health. So they'll be moving on to the next round. All right, great. And so the next so the next matchup is going to be between Segfault and Salmon Confront Senior. Yes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yes. So the next one is Salmon and is this one, right? Yeah, and it's for Segfault versus Salmon. All right, excellent. I'll just delete this top one over here. And blue. Okay, great. So let's move on. So over here we have Segfault as red and Salmon Confront Senior as blue. A very large map. Plenty of resources for everyone. Let's slow this down. Castles are actually very close to each other. That Crusader is actually going straight ahead and attacking the enemy team. Very ballsy move. We are actually seeing a red castle get picked off right off the start. Right at the start. and it seems like it's going to win. It seems that Segfault has just lost a castle. Yeah. Wow. Instead of going and building a church, it actually goes straight ahead and kills an enemy team, an enemy castle. And it looks like that castle didn't fight back, which is unfortunate because these castles are actually can hold their own weight, at least against a single crusader and a single prophet. All right. Yeah, it seems that Blue has opted, instead of building churches, to immediately begin the offensive and build a lot of combat units. It seems that their first attack went pretty well because Red wasn't prepared for that, but now it seems that because Red had time to build their defenses, it's not really working out as well. Although now Red is at a Segfault is at a shortage of production in carbonite just because one of its castles, and it has no churches. Neither team has churches so far. Oh, and it seems that we do have pilgrims going out to get all of its resources. It seems that also that Blue is running out of fuel. It's consistently at almost zero fuel, which might be one of the issues on why this clump isn't really doing much. If only it was building more churches around and collecting fuel from those churches, maybe we'd be seeing a bit more action. All right, and actually, I was so enthralled in that we're almost at the end of this round, so we'll just watch till the end. So the end, we sort of see Blue has more unit health just because it's been able to produce more. It's trying to attack, but it seems that it's not really working out because it doesn't really have the fuel to make the push. In the end, though, we do see that Blue wins. So Salmon Confront Senior takes this first round, and we'll be moving on to the second round of this matchup. Now Segfault is Blue, and Salmon Confront Senior is going to be Red. Oh, and this one actually lasts 553 turns, so I'm pretty excited to see all that hot action. So great. We start off again. Salmon Confront Senior immediately going for the castle. Actually, very strange. The prophets don't seem to care that there is a crusader just going after their castle. Oh, okay, and right at the nick of time, Blue's castle having 10 health left, they managed to save their castle from destruction, even though the prophets just sort of sat there for a while. Pretty funny. Alright, Blue does end up building a church this round, which is great. Yeah, Segfault now does have the lead in production and in units, so this is pretty interesting to see. Last time they didn't really build out any pilgrim or any churches, but this time they've sort of taken over the entire map. It seems that Salmon Confront Senior has not built any churches at all, but rather focused entirely on their offensive techniques. Cool. We're nearing the end of this. We only have 50 turns left, so let's see what happens. It'd be really cool to see just a crusader from... Oh, it seems that Red's castle is actually dying from these prophets that are coming over here, which is really cool. Really funny that Blue's castle survived with only 10 health. Let's see. Okay, and it does look like Red is getting attacked. So in the end, Segfault wins this by prophet attack, king the Red castle. So we'll move on to the third match, and this time we're back to the original. Segfault is Red and Salmon Confront Senior is Blue. All right, and this time we only have 56 turns. All right, again, Salmon Confront Senior going straight for the attack. Really ignoring those prophets over there. And again, Red's prophets just ignoring the Crusader that's attacking its castle. Maybe again it'll figure out what to do at the very last minute. No, we actually just lost a castle, and it looks like the Crusader is just picking off all these prophets that don't seem to care that there's a Crusader killing all of its friends and itself. Okay, and they're doing the same tactic up here, building a single Crusader and a single prophet to wage warfare, and it's succeeding actually. We have this castle over here that's just dying. Alright, great. So in the end, we see that Salman confront Senior wins this matchup, and they'll be moving on, and Segfall is eliminated from the tournament. Next on, we have Bolt Mormons and Grill Dads. Alright, we're bidding off. There's one castle per turn per team, and we have a lot of really lush resource clusters all over the map. Let's see what happens. Alright, so immediately pilgrims are being sent out by both teams. We also notice that this is taking only 377 turns, which does mean that we're going to see some offensive action somewhere in this match. Red does seem to have be more exploratory with all of its pilgrims. It does seem like a good plus for them so far. Let's see if they put down any churches. No churches yet. Blue does build a church. Pilgrim gets sniped off, though. We do see that Red has a church up in the north, and also a church in the east, able to hold its weight against a few Crusaders that are trying to attack it. But it does seem that Blue is focusing on using Crusaders to sort of capture enemy units. Although these Crusaders don't seem to be caring. Oh, okay. Now they're attacking the church. Alright, great. And we sort of see this like line of Crusaders building and pilgrims behind them building churches as they come along, which is really cool. Sort of like taking its territory as they go along. Great. And now we start to see that Blue's Crusaders are doing pretty well. Sort of building up this pretty nice backline. We're going to speed this up more. We start to see these Crusaders move over here. Looks like they're trying to attack this other church over here, which is really cool. It looks like there's a backline of prophets. Oh, and they managed to take this church area. Now they're sort of moving for the main castle area, which is super awesome. You can see all of these flowing. It seems that Blue is... Oh, it used to be concerned with its fuel, but now it's doing pretty well. Both teams are now struggling with fuel. So it seems that it's becoming an issue to actually move and attack. Blue ends up successfully storming the enemy team's castle and eliminating it, which is super awesome. So that one goes to Grill Dads, and next up we'll have Grill Dads as red and Boat Mormons as blue. So already currently one win for Grill Dads. Over here, one castle, but a lot of resources in the central area. Alright. And of course, these maps are pretty cool. I sort of see like a squid on this one. Yeah. Alright, so both Mormons and Grill Dads are competing for the central area. Boat Mormons seems to be actually this time to be building more Crusaders, which is plenty awesome. And it seems that Grill Dads is opting to build a stronger defense in its back lines. We'll speed this up even further. Great. So Boat Mormons has actually claimed all the resource depots in the central area. Let's see if they try to make a move. No move yet. But Boat Mormons does seem to have a lot of profits in the central area. Seeing as I don't think that this by itself is going to be enough to take over this massive line unless the profits aren't programmed to attack. It's pretty interesting to see. Okay, so we do have Crusaders coming out every once in a while and just getting picked off by this line of profits. There's one profit over here, not sure what it's doing, but okay. So in the end, we do end up having that this profit line is just so gigantically massive that it ends up killing these protecting units, and we do see that the castle has taken a little bit of damage. Maybe we'll see more of that. It seems that these are getting picked off, but by the sheer number of profits and the sheer amount of production that blue has, they don't really care about 1 or 2 lost profits. We see red's health being taken off little by little. These profits sort of going in for suicide attacks against the castle. Alright, yeah. And we start seeing that these profits, little by little, are whittling away at red's offense. Or red's castle, sorry. And it seems that at around 782, we'll see most likely these profits completely destroying red's castle. Alright, yeah, we're down to 20 health, now down to 10 health, and finally, alright, and on the last turn, a profit moves over here and finally kills Grildad's castle. So in the end, we have 1 win for Grildad's and 1 win for Boat Mormons. So we'll move on to the third match of this. Whoops. Alright. Is the Twitch chat saying anything? Oh, okay. Well, hi Twitch chat. Alright, we have a massive map over here. It sort of looks like a happy face. I think so. Do you see any other things?
Like Japanese masks.
Yeah. It's pretty cute. All of these maps are contiguous, hopefully. And this one does have a huge amount of resources all over it. It seems we are going to turn 1000, so we're not going to... it might just be because of how large this map is and how hard it would be to dismantle a defense on this map. All right. So we see Boat Mormons taking an early lead in terms of pilgrim placement, as a pilgrim over here, up here, up here, up here. It seems to have moved pilgrims to every cluster possible so far. All right, and now we haven't seen... Okay, we've seen our first church down here. It seems that Boat Mormons does seem to have like a larger territorial expanse. We'll see if that holds up. We do know that... we do know that Grildad's does have a more aggressive strategy in terms of moving Crusaders and then placing churches on places that had other churches to begin with. So we do see a lot more Crusaders from Grildad's. Overall, though, it does seem that Boat Mormons has an upper hand in terms of production. We'll see how that continues on. It does seem, though, that at this size of the map and the number of Crusaders that Grildad's has, it's continuously running out of fuel. So even if they are trying to make an organized attack, it's failing just because it's trying to move all of these Crusaders over here, and it seems to be lagging out every time a Crusader dies, or every time a Crusader runs out of fuel. So this front line is also inhibited by that, just because they'll be running out of fuel before they're even able to move, which means it's easy pickings for red, who happens to be stockpiling a ton of fuel. Alright, it seems that we've moved on from a interesting part of the match. Oh, never mind. It seems that blue is making a successful attack against red, taking over that central area, making new churches. Very nice. So blue has actually taken over the central area, giving it a little bit more production. We see the unit health is actually very closely tied, 4.6k for Boat Mormons and 4.8k for Grilldads. We'll see how this progresses. It seems that it continues to have its aggressive push towards the towards these other churches. These Crusaders are all moving around. If only they had more fuel to actually move these Crusaders, it seems that they're sort of slowed down. Alright, and we're going to move on to sliders, just because we have exhausted, we are not going to watch this entire match. It seems, yes, the Crusaders are trying to move over here. It seems that they're actually getting picked off by that line of prophets that Boat Mormons has. Alright, and yeah, we see that there is a stream of Crusaders. Unfortunately, they don't seem organized enough to rush through the enemy defenses, and as a result, they're getting picked off, and red is keeping their units. It seems that that's going to make the end. We see that Boat Mormons has 1.12,000 unit health versus Grilldads having 5.3. They've won 2 matches out of 3, which means they'll be moving on. Next, we have 69 tons of data and Double J. Now that we watched a few matches, we'll be going a little bit faster through the rest. Actually, after these 2 matchups, we've already seen everyone's Pilgrim strategies, so we'll just start off at max speed. Alright, so a pretty large map. Actually not that much contention in terms of resources. The central area is pretty barren. Although that also means at the same time, it's pretty useful to put down a church in the central area just so that you have a place to build all of your units. Alright, moving on. We sort of see that blue has managed to put down a church, which is great. We don't see this. Red has actually not claimed this resource deposit, which is pretty unfortunate. Alright, and actually blue takes advantage of that and builds a church up here, which is pretty awesome. The blue pilgrims actually also tried to rush up here, but end up failing because of this lattice of prophets. Alright. We see that blue is leading in production just because it's built churches. Oh! And it makes a dash for the enemy castle, and it succeeds. Oh my goodness. Alright. That's super awesome. So we do see that blue ends up taking out one of red's castles, which means it's currently in the lead, even though that they're fairly tied in terms of unit health. Oh, and we see another rush by blue on both fronts, down here and up here. It seems that these preachers are actually traveling quite a distance to before actually making it to their final location. They should be using this church up here to be making their units. Alright, and again we sort of see that because of that failed rush, blue is actually leading in unit health, although that's slowly on the decline because it has less production overall. Let's move on to sliders for the rest of this match. Alright, and they make another rush, very unsuccessful. That profit lattice has actually been pretty common to see in a lot of other matchups. We do see that blue has now built up this formidable thing of preachers up here, which is super cool. Let's see if they do anything with it. No, it just looks like they're getting picked off. Alright, so we'll move on to the end of the match. Alright, and because blue has managed to destroy one of red's castles, blue wins. So that's 1 for Double J. And next up we will have 69 tons of data as blue, and we'll have Double J as red. Alright, and this one only lasts 73 turns. That must be because of how close these two castles are. So let's start. Immediately we have red scouting out scouting out this area, building a church immediately, taking that central area, which is so close to both teams. All right, and we'll speed this up. Yeah, it seems that blue should be building more churches, but it isn't. Will it build any churches? Hopefully. All right, and we do see that these preachers have emerged from that church. So we'll see how that goes for them. Okay, and they are making an offensive move. Okay, wow, and they just go and storm the blue, the blue castle. So in the end, we have Double J winning both. So they'll be moving on, and 69 tons of data is now eliminated. All right, and we'll move on to the next round matchup. Could you get YouTube in Managa? All right, cool. Excellent. I guess I will also check the Twitch chat. Oh, just kidding. We have the next replays. Excellent. All right, so this is the next matchup. So here we have YouTube versus Managa. We're going to go slowly these first two rounds just because there's so many resources and we'd like to see what they're doing with all of them. All right, so immediately we have a preacher by YouTube, and actually preachers by both teams, and a crusader by Managa. It seems that Managa might be going and making a dash for an attack. We don't know. All right, it does help that YouTube is building up more churches. So far it seems that Managa has not built any churches, which may be detrimental for later. It is collecting resources from these smaller areas, but Red is also going to these places, building churches, and then collecting and harvesting all these resources. It seems as though, so it does seem that YouTube is building this wall of prophets over here. These pilgrims over here are doing some sort of weird jig that I don't really understand. They must be scared of that prophet that they see, but it doesn't seem to be that and now they're back to their regularly scheduled business. Red is just building this line of prophets, which is very interesting. We'll speed this up. All right, continue. We continue a line. Blue has finally built some churches down in the south, which is great. It doesn't seem that Red is really aiming to move anything offensively. It's just built this line of prophets right down the center. Quite interesting, but strategy, but not very interesting to watch 500 rounds of. So we're just going to move forward. Red is building this massive lattice of crusaders. Yeah. All right. Yeah, they're just building. Okay, more prophets, making the line. Oh, they're scouting out a little bit. Okay, crusaders, 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 crusaders. All right. Yeah, and in the end, we have 16,000 unit health by Red. It seems that both teams do have Carbonite at the end. We've seen from previous strategies that at the end, some teams opt to build a pilgrim, to make a pilgrim to build a church, and then that church takes a turn to make a pilgrim who makes the church, and that seems to be a pretty solid strategy to completely waste up your Carbonite at the very end, which is pretty necessary because Carbonite doesn't really count for much at the end, especially since unit health is it very rarely ties. I haven't seen a game that ties with unit health yet. All right, great. So that was one. That was one for YouTube, and now YouTube is blue and Managa is red. Again, Managa brings out a crusader and a preacher, which is pretty interesting. Sort of just holding out this middle line. However, it does seem to be slower in terms of building churches, which may lead to its downfall. All right, so yeah, YouTube comes down here, builds all the churches at once, starts building this line of prophets that we saw it build last time. It seems that they really just want to solidly protect its area and then win by unit health, which is a decent strategy. Although if both teams are really gunning for unit health victories, then it comes down to the strategies of like how they're managing their economics and how they're managing their defenses in the case that the other team does decide to attack them. It does seem that there is a slight amount of attack just because Red is also building some sort of wall, but these prophets are able to pick them off at a distance. So we'll move this a little bit faster. We're going to go into slider mode because I don't think we're going to see any interesting tactics, just because both teams are playing very defensively. Again, Blue builds out that massive lattice of Crusaders behind its wall of prophets, which is really interesting to see. Josh, if you're not on the stream, you should come and watch this. This is quite a lot of Crusaders. This team sort of opted to build out.
Oh my god.
Yeah, this team sort of opted to build out a line of prophets right down the middle, and then spend the rest of the match. Yeah, it seems to be very efficient in terms of building out all of its units. Great. So that ends up being another win for YouTube. So they'll be moving on to the next round, and Managa will be eliminated from the high school rounds. At this point, we've actually seen. Could you actually get losers round 6? Are these catch-up matches? Okay. Is that Kryptonite versus Salmon Confront Senior? Okay, nice. All right. Yeah. So now we'll be moving on to losers round 6 before moving on to winners round 5. All right. Great. So now we have Salmon Confront Senior, who has actually spent quite a while in the losers bracket, but has been doing very well. So we'll move on. So, oh my goodness. All right, so we have Salmon Confront Senior as red, as blue, and Kryptonite as red. Great. Man, I really love clairvoyance. It's great. We do. One thing is that now that I actually get to see the round number every time, I actually get excited when it's not 1,000 because that means things will actually be killing each other. So. Let's start this matchup. We're going to go to a little bit faster of a speed now that we know really everyone's strategies at this point. So again, Kryptonite starts off. It's actually taking the upper hand in terms of building building the pilgrims and churches in the central area, and also building up this fortress of prophets. We'll see how they do. Salmon Confront Senior seems to have not really planned out building any churches, sort of just like having these pilgrims ferry off these things. But it does seem to be their downfall because they're not really building as many offensive units. This classroom is not reserved until like 7 p.m. All right. Can you check the reservation on this room, or or really the lack thereof? I think 34301 is not reserved until like 7 or 8 today. All right. Apologies. As the game has been progressing, it does seem that red is slowly picking off blue's health just because it has so many more units. Great. And so we do see elimination of blue's castle, maybe intentional, maybe just because they were building out this profit wall. So in the end, we have, it's free. Okay, great. So we do have Kryptonite winning, and now we'll move on to the second round, where the matchup is between Kryptonite as blue and Salmon Confront Senior as red. All right. Great. Salmon Confront Senior as red. Great. So, okay, and we do see Salmon Confront Senior going straight ahead and trying to rush the enemy castle. Not very successful, unfortunately. That also has given Kryptonite the time to sort of build up a church, defensive church up in this northern area. Yeah. I sort of see two people in this map.
Kind of reminds me of the
Oh, like the hammer and
Yeah.
maybe a little bit.
Oh, yeah, it's like two people sort of battling out from each other.
A little, yeah, that too. I sort of, and they like are holding like these like sickles, these something
Yeah,
telepathically.
sort of Reapers of Death, maybe.
Maybe. Anyways, sorry, back to commentary about the actual game. It seems that Kryptonite has built up, again, like this profit lattice, which is being very successful. However, it doesn't seem to be very aggressive. It doesn't really try to go for these outer resource depots. I guess it assumes that Red must have taken them by now, and they're not really going for any offensive strategies. Great. Oh, never mind. They actually took it. Very nice. Okay, great. This pilgrim is over here just like watching, I guess, as a scout. It can actually see the enemy castle, which is very scary. And it's very good that those Crusaders are getting picked off because these pilgrims do not have really any health at all. Alright, and it doesn't seem that we're going to get that much action, so we're just going to move on to the end of the game. We start to see Crusaders sort of trying to getting picked off, but Kryptonite seems to be holding a very massive defense over here. So that's sort of where we're going at. In the end, we have almost half the... Oh, and we actually get a final attack on the castle by a... it looks like a Crusader or something down here on the very last turn, just because this line has advanced so far. So in the end, we have Kryptonite winning both matches, so that's... they'll be moving on. And we'll be moving on to Palette and Boat Mormons. Yeah. Okay, while we're waiting for the URL file, let's move on to looking at Discord and see if anyone is saying anything funny. Alright. Why does it seem like every 2 matches the draws are updated? Is it best of 3? Yes. So we only play the... oh, hello, Lemon. You'll be on stream soon. Yeah, so we're only going to be playing the 3rd match if we find that the first 2 matches are one, or basically we don't have a winner by the first 2 matches. Hello, Kerbals. Yes. Okay. Oh, hello, Kryptonite. Congratulations on, I believe, the win that you just took. Yes. Okay, so now we'll be moving on to Palette and Boat Mormons. All right. This one I'm not really sure what to make of it. It sort of looks like an upside-down face, but let's just start and begin. We have 1,000 turns here. We have 1,000 rounds, 270,000 turns. So we are in for a long game. All right. Yeah, and it does seem that both teams immediately rush out to make churches. Although it does seem that there's this random blue pilgrim that Red is not attacking. Very strange. Yeah, I don't know what it is about some teams, but they really are pretty chill with pilgrims just all up in their business. All right, this one's pretty balanced. We have a pretty balanced unit health. Both teams are producing at about the same speed. Both of them have exactly the same resources, so it's really down to the micro strategies of how they're using these resources. It does seem that, though, that there is a pilgrim sort of stuck over here, and over here the blue pilgrim is actually able to get more carbonite. It does seem to be making a slight difference. Over here we start to see that the blue team has a slightly higher unit health. And we'll just move on. Yeah, and that you can see the unit health gradually changing towards blue's favor over time. Also seems that Red is not using all of its carbonite, unfortunately. Oh, and we missed something. Okay, we missed something. So we actually did see a offensive push by blue. So that's really awesome. Let's watch more of that. So, okay, and we do see these prophets peel off and start attacking that castle, which is great. So now blue has the advantage both in unit health and in number of castles. Although now they're going up here and trying to attack this massive wall of prophets, that isn't going to work. Although in the way that they've structured these prophets, attacking a few of these with preachers. Oh, And we see a massive wave of profits by blue. This is amazing. Okay, and we do see that both teams are sort of now struggling to keep up with their fuel needs just by how many units they have and how little fuel there is on this map. It doesn't seem like blue has really noticed that it's actually claimed these to be part of their territory yet. And in the end, it seems that both teams are not, or blue is not able to successfully penetrate the red defense, but it did manage to take off one castle, which does mean that Boat Mormons, it does take this round, and we'll move on to the second one of this. Now Boat Mormons are going to be red, and we're going to have Palette as blue. 1,000 turns. Let's get straight on to it. Alright, immediately both teams make their pilgrims. Both teams are... oh, and Boat Mormons is actually a little bit more aggressive in terms of where it's trying to make its pilgrims. This guy is just sort of chilling there. We saw the same behavior last time where these like blue crusaders didn't really know what to do when there is a red pilgrim all up in their business, but that's alright. Alright, both teams have made churches. Boat Mormons actually have made claimed this other area for their church and kicked out the original Palette church. We see the same sort of business with blue making a line of profits and red making a lattice of profits. All right. Yeah, pretty cool behavior by both teams. I'm really looking forward to seeing if red does try to make a push for the enemy team at any point. It did cost them a little bit of unit health, but in the end, it does seem that they have unit health to spare just because they have more church locations than blue does. And blue is sort of holed up in its central area over here. And it'd be pretty cool to see, although these profits do seem to be picking off crusaders that are wandering a little bit too close. Alright, let's move on to looking at sliders. So let's move this forward, 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 forward. Nope. Alright, red is really trying to build out that like lattice of profits, but blue isn't really letting it. Up here, they're sort of getting a lot of damage. Oh, we actually did see the castle take a little bit of damage. I think that's just because of the encroaching red lattice, this like sort of crystal that forms. Yeah, and it seems that if blue is actually losing quite a bit of health over here. I wonder if it's going to fix that. Yeah, I wonder if... okay, we're going down to 70 health, 60 health. Oh my goodness. Although this does go to 1,000 health, so I assume that they weren't successful unless they managed a turn 1,000 kill of the castle, which would also be amazing. Alright, it does seem like this profit line has been... has gone down a little, but now it's been replaced by preachers. Red has the utmost advantage in terms of unit health, so it does seem that Boat Mormons is going to win this, and we're just going to let this play out until the end. Great, yeah, and we do see that this does go to red, which means that Boat Mormons has won both rounds, and they'll be moving on to the next bracket, or next round. Next up, we have Deus Volt and Double J. Deus Volt will be red, and Double J will be blue. Oh, also, someone in the Discord asked, I think it was Double J, about the seeding, and how was this seeded, Josh?
We seeded from the seeding plan.
Okay, yes.
We filtered out, we took the ranking from the seeding plan, we filtered out high school teams, and then we filtered out.
Okay, yeah, so there's your answer. Feel free to tag JGrew if you have further questions. Alright, so now we have Double J as blue and Deus Volt as red, and we're just going to go ahead and begin. I don't really see any funny patterns in this one's map, so not too entertained. Alright, from the beginning, we do see that Deus Volt has built a very spicy church right over here, but also Double J has taken over the central area, so much carbonite production. Both teams have latched onto some pretty juicy carbonite places. We do see that this is 448 turns, so we are going to get some attack. We have a lot of pilgrims from Double J, a lot more than we have resource depots, so they must be building them out for some other reason. All right, so very interesting. Most teams opt for having a lot of preachers or prophets, but now it seems that Double J has built up a quite formidable army of preachers, which would be really awesome because we see over here that they have so many prophets, but they're tightly spaced together. So if these preachers are able to land any damage on them, it's going to be pretty devastating. And also keep in mind that these prophets are kind of weak. They're pretty much like the minute you like breathe on them, they pretty much die. So we'll see if these prophets, preachers, it looks like these preachers are just sort of like accepting their fate and dying, but like I hope another one sort of like manages to get through. All right, okay, we start seeing some action. Yeah, immediately when these preachers are able to come in and actually attack, then like everything dies just because these prophets don't really have that much health. They really just have their long range. And these preachers are now coming over here, trying to pick off these prophets. They are succeeding. Every time these preachers really touch these prophets, they die. And we do see that blue, Double J, does win. So in this one, Double J wins against Deus Vault, and we'll move on to the second round. Very cool. So yeah, we do see here that even though these prophets do have an upper hand against these preachers, over here, these prophets aren't really moving, and that's letting these preachers get in close and like just immediately massacre all of them. We're loading the second round. Now we have Double J as blue and Deus Vault. Sorry, Double J as red and Deus Vault as blue. All right, and I sort of see like a face on this one. Yes. Okay, we'll just move on farther. Oh my goodness, that was a really aggressive move by Double J, just moving their pilgrims up there without really any care and getting picked off by the prophets. Oh, okay, and we now do see some action. These prophets preachers are moving forward. Unfortunately, unlike last time, the move isn't as successful. The prophets are able to successfully defend against Double J's attacks. I do like, however, that they're using more than just prophets and the occasional crusader. There's this one preacher over here that's sort of just chilling and minding its own business, probably just waiting for its friends before making another move. All right, and hopefully we see another push by Double J. And we'll move on to sliders just because we don't have much interesting going on. Oh, we have a few pilgrims. Oh, and we do start seeing a like move over here. Unfortunately, it just seems that red is just throwing its units right at that prophet wall. Quite unfortunate. All right, we sort of see the same business going on again. Another rush at the prophets, not very successful. All right, another rush at the prophets. And at the very end, it actually seems that as though Double J wins by unit health, even though it has lost many more units. It does seem that Blue has stockpiled a very large amount of carbonite, but isn't really using it, which is really unfortunate because that means that Double J wins both rounds, and we'll be moving on. Now we'll have 5 VVVVV. If you want to correct that, how I'm saying it, please let us know in the Discord or Twitch chat versus this YouTube link. Great. All right. So we have a pretty small map, 2 castles each, and we'll just begin. All right. And also, I remember we changed our random generator to a Mersenne Twister. Oh yeah, you were the one who did that, right? Oh yeah. So why was that?
A couple of reasons. First of all, we were having a weird bug, which we thought might be due to the old random number generator we were using, which is very bad. Basically, we used the sign-based thing, so we'd like take a really big number, multiply it by, take the sign of it, and then get the decimal place and do some bit shift or whatever and call it a day. We problem with that is A, I think you get some weird floating point effects which might not be reproducible, and B, like that would be a
Yeah.
different platform, so we're worried about reproducibility.
Mhm.
And B, I think actually my guess is predictable. So you can probably look at the output of random number generator of the outputs.
Yeah.
It's by no means nowhere even close to cryptographically secure. Right?
Yeah.
You can probably figure out from the map generation, right, or something like that, what the seed was, and that would be bad because you could exploit a lot of things and find out what individual teams stuff. So that was the logic of the switch.
I see. That's excellent here. Okay, now back to this game. We do see that we have, I believe, the YouTube link has built up this massive lattice of Crusaders. At the same time, 5Vs has built up a mixture of prophets and pilgrims. However, due to this does mean that there were actually no resource depots available for church locations just to start off. Instead, we just have this massive lattice of Crusaders, which is pretty cool. If you're going for like in sort of like unit health economy win, Crusaders are the highest health to lowest cost ratio. Highest health to cost ratio. So they're just trying to be really fat in terms of unit health, and it's working. Unfortunately, that does mean that this match is kind of slow, so we're going to stop and just plow forward and see if we have any attacks. The answer is not really. We have a few confused Crusaders going around, but otherwise not much happening. A few Crusaders accidentally getting picked off by Prophets. We can sort of see that as the Prophets move forward, they're actually picking off Crusaders. Neither team is really figuring out what to do when they get attacked. But in the end, what we have is that the YouTube link ends up winning by unit health. And so now we'll be moving on to the YouTube link being blue, YouTube link being red, and the 5Vs being blue. All right, another small map. Kind of looks like a turtle this time. We do have resource deposits in the center, which is pretty interesting. And we'll see if either team takes advantage of that. Right off the bat, we have a preacher by the red team and churches being built on that center area. Another church being built. These resource deposits are very close to each other, so if either team is able to notice that and build another church, they'll have an upper hand in terms of production. All right, and this is the behavior we saw last time with YouTube, sort of building out that like wall of prophets before building out the Crusaders. That wall of prophet is actually able to pick off that church just because of how close it is. Okay, so I'm not sure why they didn't build this wall of prophets last time, but they went straight into building their lattice of Crusaders. And we see it seems like we're just going to get that for the rest of the game. So let's move on to sliders. Great. Yep, that is a very cool lattice by the YouTube link team. All right, let's see if they fill up. Oh, they actually managed to fill up. So now they're sort of like mixing around. At the end, we do have 9,000 unit health by the YouTube link, so they end up winning. So we're going to move on. Okay, and I believe then, are we moving on to winners round 5? Okay, excellent. Yeah. Okay, cool. All right, so everything's going on well. Josh, can you make sure that I haven't messed up yet? Yeah, because I've been, yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Great. All right, let's check on the Discord for a little bit. Unless it's a championships game. Okay. Okay. Did the gnome video. Okay, so it does seem that has someone lost to the same guy twice. That should be impossible. Huh?
that possible?
Is that possible in terms of how the I guess if like
It's technically possible.
yeah, it's possible. It's possible, definitely.
The double elimination design is supposed to eliminate lower the probability that that happens.
Yeah.
But it by no means guarantees that.
Yeah, so it might happen every few whiles. Congratulations to the YouTube link, the GNOME video. Okay, and we'll move on. So now we're going to be, these are the two matchups in the winners round 5. Okay, so we're going to see Unlimited versus Knights of Camelot. Very cool. Okay, excellent. Okay, oh, I think this is a repeat map, but now vertical. All right, great. We have 1,000 turns, so we're just going to start at max speed. So it does seem that Red has taken over a much more aggressive church placement than Blue has. Blue's Pilgrims sort of running around, not knowing what to do. Yeah, I'm not sure what those Blue Pilgrims are sort of doing. They're just running around in the middle of the map. If you turn this map upside down, do you see like an unamused face?
I can not look at things upside down.
Like these are the eyes. This is like maybe a nose or a mouth. Okay. Either way, both teams are sort of building on very defensively. Blue's Pilgrims still are kind of like confused. That's all right though. Red is, because it has more church locations, it actually has built up quite a few churches in places that don't even have resource deposits, which is pretty interesting. But neither team really seems to be attacking each other, so we're sort of at a standstill. Let's see what happens. All right. Great. And yeah, at the end, we sort of do see that Red wins by, actually Blue wins by unit health. Very cool. So that's Knights of Camelot. Let's move on into the second round. All right. Again, we have 1,000 matches, and we'll just get right into it. So let's see. Knights of Camelot. It seems that both teams. It seems that Knights of Camelot have actually taken the central area, or at least are defending that central resource deposit. But Unlimited is defending this northern resource deposit. Both teams have taken other resource deposits on their respective teams. Yeah, and it seems that there's a little bit of a dispute just because of how close all these things are, and so that these units are really like fighting when they sort of catch eyes with another unit. Let's move on to sliders because it seems that no teams are really making any moves. Yeah, Blue has actually made another church in the north, which is very cool. All right. Great, and it seems that Red is slowly winning in the unit health department. Let's see if either team does anything more interesting. And we're good so far. It looks like Red wins, Knights of Camelot win by unit health, which means overall Knights of Camelot move on to the semifinals. Now we're going to look at Code Olympians and Citric Sky. All right. All right, we go to 1,000 turns. So let's start. All right, both teams start building out pilgrims. And it seems that Blue is able to build its church faster, although Red builds a church in the more central location. Let's move on. Red does end up having more production because it's taking that central location earlier, and is sort of skirmishing with the blue and red prophets seem to be skirmishing over here just because of how close each other are, and they're sort of picking each other off as they go, but neither team really making an offensive move and really like turning the tide. All right. Let's move on. It seems that skirmishes continue. and they're pretty evenly tied in terms of unit health and production, even though red does have more places. Alright, and it does seem that blue is able to turn the tide and build a lot more units. Yeah. Okay, and this is pretty cool. Even though at the very start, red has so many more resource deposits, blue ends up winning in unit health. Red also has quite a bit of carbonite that they haven't used up yet, which is pretty unfortunate. So that one goes to Citric Sky, and next on we'll be seeing Citric Sky versus as red versus Colympians as blue. All right. Alright, off the bat, there are no resource deposits on this map that haven't been claimed by the castles already. So this is mostly, and it seems that both are pretty defensive, so it seems like a game of how well they manage their resource economy and how well their attacks are. Because of how small this map is, we do probably expect to see some fighting in the middle. Josh, this map looks like a hamster.
It's totally bad. Oh my god.
Yeah, the big cheeks, some sort of like half heart floating on top of it. It's a very cute map.
Looks like a hair bow.
So it looks also
Oh, a
like
hair
snake
bow,
wearing
yes.
a party hat.
I'm having trouble seeing this
Wait,
one.
where's the snake?
Okay. The snake is a snake's face.
Oh, I see the snake. Okay.
Oh.
Oh, you're right.
Yeah, because the nose in the bottom, right? It's like a snake
Okay.
nose.
Very cute. And actually, we spent the entire round talking about the shape of the map.
That's a very short one.
It is a very short round. There are no resource deposits, which means neither team has really a chance to build out as many units. But we do see that Citric Sky is always a little bit more efficient in terms of how it's building its units. So, and like how many units it's building. We also see that there's a little bit of overflow from in Carbonite. So Citric Sky wins this match. All right. Great. And now we'll be moving on to the next one. Are we doing the losers round 7?
This is the who's still in.
Are,
It's just like underneath.
huh.
This is the next set of things.
Okay. Wait. Augmented Collisions.
So this is the losers round. It kind of looks like
Double Kryptonite. Fort Mormon's Double J.
YouTube was in the losers.
Kryptonite. Yeah. Okay. So.
They just put them together.
Okay, interesting. All right, yeah, we're just reading the replays as we go along. It seems that now we're going to be doing the losers round 7. So we're going to be doing Kryptonite versus Boat Mormons. Oh my goodness. All right, 1,000 rounds. We see a very sparse map, very few resources, but there is a lower resource to be had down there. It seems that
It's a dog.
it's a dog.
It's sitting down. It's a dog sitting.
It is.
Oh, it is. Oh, that's quite cute. All right, so it does seem that blue is taking the advantage in terms of church placement. Let's see if it's able to keep that. The answer seems like yes. It seems like blue is winning in terms of unit health. I don't want to say too many things at the very beginning just because maybe red is going to make a little bit of push towards the churches. But so far we don't have too much happening besides just a lot of units being built. The very standard profit lattice is happening. Did someone share their code for this profit lattice? Because like I feel like I've seen like almost every team do this profit lattice.
It's just a training versus.
Okay. All right. And we do see that blue is winning by a lot in terms of unit health just because it's been able to claim those southern churches. We're going to move into sliders. All right. So yeah, you can see a massive amount of profits. And they actually managed to. Oh, okay. I didn't actually notice this, but sometime earlier, the massive amount of profits actually killed off a castle just because of them expanding. So now blue is winning by a number of castles as well. Oh, and in the very few last turns, we see a push by blue, oh my goodness, into rushing the enemy team. They only make it so far before they run out of fuel, unfortunately. And now it's slowed to a halt, and now they're just sort of easy pickings for the other team. But I do commend that they decided to stray away from their very defensive strategy and just go for an all-out attack in the last 100 turns, which is pretty cool. All right. Also, units killed, having fewer units does help with having these rounds go a little bit faster. In the end, we do see blue winning by both number of castles and unit health, so that's going to be a win for boat Mormons. So now we're going to move on to the second matchup of boat Mormons. All right, and we have one castle per, and we have these very lush resources over here. So let's see what happens. Both of them end up claiming their respective areas. This prophet is not actually attacking anything, which is quite interesting. Oh, okay, never mind. It's starting to attack. Oh no, that church is dying. Oh my goodness, no. Okay, so blue does have the upper hand in this game. That is going to be not boat Mormons. Who's the team? Unlimited? I think. Oh yeah, Kryptonite. Kryptonite. So Kryptonite does have the upper hand right now because it's built units and sniped off the enemy church. Very good on them. And we'll speed this up. All right, and we do see a little bit of fighting over here just because of how close everything is to each other. Blue is winning by unit health just because it has a lot more, like almost twice as much. It seems like 2.5 times as much production carbonite mining as the other team, roughly. Okay, we do see that these profits are sort of like a little bit like attacking each other just because they're getting a little bit too close for comfort. A problem with these like small maps and like just like how close together they start off. We're going to move on to sliders and see what happens. Okay, red is getting its castle damaged slightly, and those Crusaders seem to be running into a corner. Not too sure what's going on there. All right, we do see a few attacks at the very end, but nothing too useful. At the very end, it seems that Unlimited takes this one with unit health. So we're going to move on to the third matchup. Now Kryptonite is red. Kryptonite took the last one. Kryptonite is now red, and Boat Mormons is blue. All right, so again, this time we have them pretty spread out, so it seems to will be a matter of who has a better like sort of economy when dealing with these things. And blue has accidentally let its pilgrims die off. Blue is also now trying to go up there and gets its pilgrim picked off again. All right, and let's move down this to 100%. Josh, do you have any announcements?
Code early. Don't leave until the last minute. Yeah, if you're traveling here, you've already booked stuff. Be on the Discord. We're doing communication in the finalist channel. So make sure that you're in
Mhm.
if you are a finalist in the draft.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. For those on the stream, basically, submit your code. If you are a finalist, please submit your code. We've most likely come in contact with you about travel accommodations, and basically, make sure that you have the finalist role on Discord, because that's how we'll be telling you guys apart. And if you don't, you're probably missing out on a few communications. If you have any questions, feel free to either email Battlecode or message separately either Josh or myself. This match, again, we don't have that much action in the center area, which means mostly it's a who gets to build more units. Red does seem to have a lot of extra carbonite lying around. Unfortunately it's not using it. We're going to stop this and just move to the end because just kidding. It seems that they actually do have a little bit of fight going on. Okay, and we see this entire wave of profits, and that's amazing. Oh my goodness, okay. Well, they were doing really well, and then they ran out of fuel, which is really unfortunate. I sort of like see the pattern in a few other teams where they're like doing really well, and then they like try to make a push, but then they run out of fuel, and their push sort of like stops. All the robots are sitting ducks, and then the other team is able to take them on really easily. So unfortunately, Blue is doing really well, but Boatmowers is doing really well. But unfortunately, Kryptonite, when they charged at Kryptonite, they ran out of fuel, letting Kryptonite take this final round. So Kryptonite will be moving on to the next round. And so we'll go over here. And now we're going to be playing Double J versus YouTube Link. And this is a gigantic map, full of resources everywhere. A lot of resources in the central area, which is going to be pretty contentious, and we'll see what happens with that. We're going to speed this up because it's a gigantic map. Both Blue and Red take churches. Blue has taken a few churches. Oh, and they're chasing away the preachers. Okay, and the Pilgrims are, it has, in this eastern area, it has actually won a skirmish against Red. Red has actually taken the central area with 3 churches, a very well-defended stronghold, but it hasn't seemed to be noticing these other pockets. Red does seem to have the upper hand in terms of number of churches and lots of very lush church placements. We'll see if either team changes this around. Alright, and it does seem that Blue is trying its hardest to defend. This one prophet over here is trying to be like a sniper, but it's not really working out because there are just too many preachers to deal with, and preachers are very tanky. If you'll notice, pretty much it takes these snipers aren't doing that much per hit. They're doing 10 damage, which means that if you're just like pumping out preachers like it's no tomorrow, then you're going to have an upper hand in terms of just like sheer number of preachers. Also, it seems that Blue has not really noticed that it has 4.9 thousand carbonite in store, and that just means that it doesn't have as many units. We're going to stop this. It seems like Red is building a formidable defense, but not really doing anything with it. So let's move forward until we see any action. Mostly, it seems that Blue is trying to pick off these preachers and not having that much success because Red's just rebuilding them again. And this is really interesting because we see that Blue actually has 10,000 kryptonite and 1.7 unit health, whereas Red has 12,000. So if Blue at this time was to just convert all of their kryptonite into just making Crusaders, they'd actually be winning right now. Alright, we're going to move forward again because nothing too interesting is happening. So Red wins by sheer unit health. That means that Unlimited takes, Double J takes this, and now we're going to have Double J as Blue and YouTube Link as Red. Alright, again, a lot of very like central resource tiles. I sort of see a good in this one, but that's not too important. Let's see how these teams do. This is going to be pretty interesting to see what these teams do. And again, it seems that Blue is better at Blue is better at getting that central area. However, it seems that Red has YouTube Link has started building up that wall that it's so good at, that it was so good at making in previous games. And it seems that now that it has this wall solidified, we're just going to have a lot of Crusaders popping up sooner or later. Oh, so Blue is trying to rush with Crusaders, Crusaders and Preachers, and they were succeeding for a little bit, but now they're not doing too hot. All right, so again, with a little push of Crusaders in the north, we're going to stop this and move forward until we see something interesting. Lots of Crusaders, as per standard. Another rush by Blue, not very successful. Yeah, and it seems that Red wins this one, so that's a win for YouTube Link. That means both Double J and YouTube Link have won once. Is that correct? Okay, cool. So now we're going to move on to the third match. So both Double J is now red and YouTube Link is now blue. All right, and we have another large map, another area with a lot of really nice resources. We're going to start. And all right, so both teams have claimed their places. We can already see YouTube Link's wall starting to form with a few preachers, sort of picking off these red preachers as they form. But now we have Blue's own preachers sort of in the mix now. I'm not sure what these. Oh, okay. So these pilgrims are sort of running away from this preacher, which unfortunately is just like wasting Blue's fuel. I'm going to move a little bit further. That one preacher is really affecting Blue's strategy, but it does seem that Blue does have the upper hand in terms of unit health, and even though its Pilgrim Code seems to be not bugging out, but sort of just like not doing much right now, it is still being quite successful in terms of its military strength. That one preacher is really holding its own. Yeah, I don't know if the Clairvoyance's Carbonite and Fuel are bugged, but it doesn't seem that these preachers are collecting any Carbonite and Fuel when they're killing other Carbon preachers.
There's a fair difference, and it's the reclaim is very small if you're not immediately next to units.
Oh.
It's allowed by the off square.
Oh, I see.
So basically, if there's any difference between you don't get anything. You play multiple works with Crusaders at very short distances.
I see. So you have to be like right next to them. Okay. All right. Here we have YouTube Link ends up taking this one in terms of unit health. Congratulations. So they'll be moving on. Great. Now we'll be moving on to the next set of matches. Do you know who that is?
This is the next step. So it's catch up with unlimited kryptonite.
Okay. All right. Oh, is that already in? Oh yeah. Can you put the next few matches in?
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Cool. During this time, let's check out the Discord. Something is wrong. To devs, math.random isn't working. It should build Crusaders also, but really on math.random.
I'm dubious that math.random.
Sorry, and this is say 10,000 Carbonite. Words are hard sometimes. All right, we are starting. Okay, we are on arcade. Okay, so these are all new matches. Okay, thank you. Thank you. All right, anyways, let's move on. So now this is a matchup between, we're still in the catch-up bracket. We have Unlimited versus Kryptonite. Unlimited as red and Kryptonite as blue. And we'll just begin. Immediately, Kryptonite builds a church right next to its castle. Actually, very interesting behavior. And also has a preacher over here. All right. So we start seeing Unlimited building a church right in the center of the map. Now that is something else. So these churches actually have a fair amount of health and also have a pretty large radius of vision. So they are really helpful in terms of seeing other units before and like acting out beforehand. It seems that we're not getting much offensive plays, so we're just going to move forward. Very interesting church in the very... Oh, and they build even more churches. And one church actually gets taken out. Oh no. All right. Alright, and in the end what we have here is that red wins by unit health. Neither team has really taken a shot at each other. Both of them were really building out defensively and really only dealing with conflicts once their defensive walls got too close. So we're going to move on to the second match. So that one was a win for Unlimited, and now we're going to have Unlimited as blue and Kryptonite as red. Great. And we're just going to start a lot of Kryptonite deposits. Blue going over and immediately trying to killing that. So that's a favor in Unlimited side. Blue, it seems to be a little bit more aggressive in terms of church placement and also making sure it's claimed land for itself. And it doesn't seem that Kryptonite knows is like really trying to go after those deposits anymore. Alright, and we're just going to speed this up. We start seeing that both teams are building out that profit lattice. Again, Unlimited has built this very interesting central church, which may be helpful, but last time it just sort of died, so we'll see what happens. Alright, we have a few creatures in the back line, which is pretty cool. I sort of see a face on this map. Face? Eyes.
Looks like
A frog?
Do you see the frog?
I don't see the frog, no.
Like the eyes up there.
Okay, I see the eyes up here, but is this like a ribbit?
I don't know. I just thought one like that.
I
Yeah.
see a person.
I see a person too.
Oh.
Yeah, but I can't tell if this is a mustache. Huh?
I see a mustache.
A mustache and... Oh. Oh, yes. I was like, this can't be a mouth. That's too weirdly shaped. Okay, back to the real match. We see that, again, we have Unlimited building up a much stronger army. Neither team is really making offensive shots at each other. We're going to stop this and move into Slayer mode. Neither team is going to make a move. Really, teams are only acting reactively when one team accidentally wanders into the view of another team. And so in the end, we have actually red winning with more unit health, barely. So we're going to move on to the third match. So now we have one win for Unlimited and one win for Kryptonite. And so we're going to be back with Unlimited as red and Kryptonite as blue. Yes. And we're just going to start off the bat 1,000 speed because we know that these teams both are going to be producing pretty defensively. Immediately, we have Unlimited building out so many churches, just as before, and building out so many profits. It seems really solid, and I don't know if Blue is able to beat this just because of the sheer like comedy of Carbonite that Red has now. Look at all these random churches everywhere. I don't if this Pilgrim is sort of like looking for something. It's sort of found its way to this Carbonite. Now it's sort of just like hopping around. Yeah, I don't know what this Pilgrim's doing. This one seems to be building up fuel and just giving it over. It doesn't seem like it has the most optimal in terms of like, okay, that one's built a church. We've seen a lot of church placement. Red is winning in both Carbonite and in unit health, which is great. So we're going to stop this and move into slider mode. Let's see if any offensive tactics happen. Red is building a lot of churches in very strange locations, but it does seem to, maybe it's using these churches to help like position itself. A lot of Crusaders in the east, and all right, and that's the match. What we have is Unlimited winning with sheer unit health and unit count. It really helped for them at the very start to rush all of those deposits. And so we're going to move on to Code Olympians and YouTube Link. So Code Olympians as red and YouTube Link as blue. All right, 1,000 turns, 3 castles, only a few locations to place churches on. All right, and both teams have sussed out where to put their churches, which is great. The matchup is very even. Both teams are using their carbonite. Both teams are building up units. Neither team is really taking a shot at each other, and they really don't need to. There's a huge empty space in the middle. That pilgrim over there is sort of just keeping watch. I guess it's there to like announce when the team gets too close. That's pretty interesting. Now that we have all of these prophets, and these prophets are actually able to pick off these preachers, even though it seems that blue has more unit health because Crusaders are easier to build, but red is also turning the tide by just killing off all of these Crusaders that are coming too close. Alright, pretty interesting stuff. We see Crusader lattices, which are the most efficient way to try to get a lot of unit health. And that's pretty cool, because a lot of these teams are not really making offensive moves, which means that if you're really going for a unit health victory, you should really go for these Crusader things, because even though they're not that great at really attacking, they still have a pretty decent range of vision, and they're just full of health. Alright, we're going to move into slider mode for right now. What we see again is they're trying to make Crusaders, but not really working out because of the Prophets picking them off. But because of the sheer number of Crusaders, it does seem to be that YouTube Link wins. Yeah, so over here what we have is YouTube Link wins. And we're going to move on to the second round. And move on. Alright, and another match, there seems to be a little bit more carbonite in the middle of the map, which does mean that we might see some fighting, and we are seeing some fighting. Great. So YouTube Link is, it seems as though blue has taken over much more of the space, which is great. However, because it's not really making offensive moves, it does seem that it might still be that the YouTube Link wins because of this Crusader lattice. Okay, but it does seem to be that blue is making a move towards the enemy team, which is pretty interesting. Alright, and now that we have not too much happening, let's move on to sliders. Alright, so a few prophets moving around, a few pilgrims really shuttling some things around. Oh! And red actually is in the process of losing a castle. Oh, let's watch that. Alright, so red is actually losing this castle up here because these prophets have pushed all the way up there. And, okay, so they've lost there, and blue has actually aggressively built a church right on top of the remains of their old castle. Very cool. We're going to move forward. I don't think they're going to be able to penetrate that line of Crusaders. No, they're not. But, however, in terms of unit health and in terms of the number of castles they have, blue does take this. So far we have 1 win for Code Olympians and 1 win for YouTube. We're going to move on to the third round of this bout. So we're back to having Code Olympians as blue and YouTube Link as red. YouTube Link as blue. And Code Olympians as red. My apologies. Great, and let's just start this up at maximum speed. Alright, so Again, we sort of see that blue is trying to build that line of profits it so enjoys building. It doesn't seem to ever try to replenish this once it goes away, because once you have too few profits, it just sort of stops building anything. Alright, so again, red has been able to claim that central area, which has been really good for it, because it's able to protect itself, and also it's been able to produce a lot more. Red is now actually aggressively taking profits all the way to the other side of the map, which is great for it. These pilgrims are actually a little bit confused. I think they're a little bit scared every time they get too close to a profit. That probably is it, yeah. They're a little bit spooked. But doesn't seem like they're doing much, so we're going to move forward. Alright, and red, because it's been able to build so many more churches, it does take the lead in terms of unit health. So in the end, we have Code Olympians moving on. Alright, great. And now we're on to the semifinals, I believe. Is it Knights of Camelot versus Citric Sky? Alright, so we're going to first see Knights of Camelot versus Citric Sky. We're getting really close here, friends. We only have 1, 2, 3, 4, maybe 5 matches to watch. Alright, great. Alright, and now let's begin. Knights of Camelot as... which one is Knights of Camelot? Oh, Knights of Camelot as red and Citric Sky as blue. Alright, both teams have built up. There were no places to put churches this time. Very evenly matched. Knights of Camelot having a little bit more. Again, these Crusaders are really nice to build because they have so much health, and because they're cheaper to make. Alright, neither team seems to be making an offensive move, although we might see something. Although I'm not going to stick around and wait for it, we're just going to move the slider until someone makes a move. Alright, lots of units. Alright, and it does seem that blue now has the upper hand because it's starting to build Crusaders as well. Nothing too interesting happening. Alright. Great, and it does seem that both of them are trying to use their Carbonite. In the end, we do have blue winning by a narrow margin in terms of unit health. So that's going to be 1 for Citric Sky, and we're going to move on to the next one. So now Citric Sky is red, and Knights of Camelot is blue. This one only lasts 500 turns, so I'm pretty excited to see what happens. Alright, again, very start. Build their churches in that central area. Blue is actually, Knights of Camelot are actually able to take that church away from red, and it looks like they're going to produce a new church. That's what I'm hoping for. Yeah, a new church has been built, and now they're moving into the enemy team's land. And wow, they have a lot more production, they have a lot more units, so this is pretty interesting, and we'll see what happens. Alright, a lot of pilgrims actually. It seems that the pilgrims are scouting out things, and now we have profits over here, and these profits, okay, and we see the first shot taken at Citric Sky's castle. Wow. Alright. And we have a lot of profits, a lot of Crusaders. These pilgrims are sort of doing a little dance over here. I think they're getting a little bit spooked by this profit over here. I think in a little bit we'll see a little bit more action happening. Okay, another church right in front of red's face. Very interesting, right outside the range. Okay, but it does seem that blue's profits are taking them out. So we have Knights of Camelot winning this one, and we're going to move on to the third round to see what happens in this one. Oh my goodness, there's a lot of things happening. Over here now we have a spaced out map. There's a pretty considerable carbonite deposit and fuel deposit over here. Otherwise, everything is a little bit spread out. Let's just begin. Alright, we see that Knights of Camelot has taken over more carbonite deposits than Citric Sky has. All right. Neither team seems to be really making shots at each other. We do see that the unit health over here, red is winning by a little bit. It also has a little bit more production, which is probably helping it. Yeah, and also props to whatever pathfinding algorithm these guys are using, because they seem to be pretty organized in terms of how they're going to and from the church without really messing up each other. Alright, it seems that neither team is doing much, so we're going to move forward. Not too much happening. Again, Citrus Sky starts building Crusaders in an attempt to increase their unit health, but it does seem that Knights of Camelot has more units anyways, and more unit health. In the very end, we have Knights of Camelot winning with 7.5 thousand unit health, and Citrus Sky only having 4.3 thousand. So Knights of Camelot will be moving into the finals. Alright, great. And next up, we have Unlimited versus Code Olympians. Is that correct? Alright. So, Unlimited as red and Code Olympians as blue. Both teams, we're going to 1,000 turns, so let's start it up. Alright, so Unlimited, very aggressive church placement, immediately gets shot down by the enemy team, although now both teams are sort of not really making any offensive shots. Let's see what happens. These pilgrims are very confused. I'm not sure what they're doing over here, but there are actually prophets and prophets sitting on these fuel and carbonite deposits, which isn't too great. Over here, we have these pilgrims sort of doing a weird thing. Blue is using up more of its carbonite. Red has more carbonite, but it also has more unit health. And it's probably due to a lack of production over here and a lack of production over here. Whereas red is more able to efficiently utilize all of the mining deposits that it can. We're going to move into slider form. Yeah, and neither team is really going to make a shot at each other. And in the end, what we have is red winning by unit health. Great. So that's going to be one for Unlimited, and we're going to have now Unlimited as red, as blue, and Code Olympians as red. Alright, a very large map, very closely spaced carbonite in the center, so it's going to be interesting to see what happens. Both teams rush to the center, building Crusaders and Prophets. The Prophet is actually able to take out Blues, so that's one for Code Olympians, sort of winning that central area. We're going to move on and see how things are going to be built. These pilgrims are not actually entering the central area. Their Prophet just died, so it seems that now Unlimited has taken the central area. Could you check up on what's going outside?
Sure. It's a little weird.
I think, yeah. Unfortunately, yeah. So I think we're in the status center, and usually at this time, like, dancing groups take over the floors because the walls are kind of reflective because they're full glass. A little bit of stuff going on. No, it's okay. I just Okay, great. Well,
They have the space.
yeah, it's fine. Yeah, great. Back to the match. We sort of see Unlimited has again more unit health, and they've also been able to claim out more of the central area. It's surprising no one's tried to build their churches down here. All right, it seems that neither is going to take a really big shot at each other, and we have a lot of turns to go through, so we're going to move into slider mode. All right. and we have a lot of units on both teams. Neither of them are really taking shots at each other unless they get too close, in which case they take shots defensively. And in the end, what we have is Unlimited winning by a slim margin of unit health. So over here, Unlimited wins both matches, so they're going to be moving on to the losers final, or the catch-up final. All right. So this is going to be between Citric Sky and Unlimited. Citric Sky is red and Unlimited as blue. This is going to be pretty interesting. All right, we have a lot of resource deposits. We have a resource deposit in the north. It's going to. I think both of these teams play pretty defensively, so we're going to have to see which team takes that upper location. Off the bat, Unlimited uses a Crusader to sort of claim that area for themselves and puts down their church. Great. And now let's see what both teams are up to. So Unlimited is building, both teams are building out their profits. Unlimited is also building out a church right in the center. Pretty interesting behavior. I think pretty cool that they use this church right in the center to sort of like scope out everything. All right, and neither teams are doing much, so we're going to move on to slider mode. Huh? Candelabra? Oh, candelabra. Oh, I guess if you're looking from the top. Yeah, it's very nicely symmetrical. Great. So again, Unlimited is building a few very interesting churches in the middle of the map, but it seems that Citrus Sky is turning the tide in terms of unit health by reinforcing their profit lattice with Crusaders. And even though that Unlimited actually had more production, they end up losing. So this first match goes to Citric Sky, and we're going to see what the second matchup looks like. So now Citric Sky is blue and Unlimited is red. All right. Again, a very large map. Nowhere to really place your churches, but we'll see. Straight off the bat, Unlimited builds a church right in the center, as per other games that they've played, and have a profit line. All right. So we start to see churches being popping up. Unlimited starts off with a little bit more unit health than Citrus Sky, but we know that Citrus Sky in the end is going to build a few more Crusaders. Yeah, seems that this time they're building Preachers, which are a little bit more cost-effective in terms of having unit health. So it seems that right now they have the upper hand. We're moving on to turn 600. Around this time, I believe, we'll start to see a few Crusaders. There's a little bit of infighting over here, or fighting over here, but that's just because they're getting a little bit close to each other. I don't think either team is really aiming to attack the other team. All right, and here we go. And Crusaders are being built. We start to see that Citrus Sky has turned the tide in terms of unit health. Still a very close fight, 2.7k to 3.1k, and yeah, they're getting picked off. But fortunately, they're still holding the upper hand in terms of unit production, unit health. All right, we're getting close to the end of this match. We sort of still see that neither team is really making a move for each other, which I guess is playing out in Citrus Sky's benefit because it has more unit health. There are a lot of pretty and a few Crusaders popping up from red. I wonder if they're able to catch up. Oh yes, they're catching up. 3.7k to 3.9k. Both teams are frantically rushing to build Crusaders. Very close matchup. It does look like at the very end we see that Citrus Sky has 3.980 3,980 unit health versus 3,780 unit health. A very close matchup, but we do see that Citrus Sky takes the win here. So now we've moved on. We've moved on to the finals. The first one is going to be against Citrus Sky and Knights of Camelot. And if Knights of Camelot if Citrus Sky wins, then there'll be a runoff match where they'll be fighting again. Otherwise, if Knights of Camelot win, they'll be taking it all. Is this the last one? Okay. All right, and now let's watch this. So we've already seen this. We've already seen matchups between them before, and now let's see how this goes again. Both teams have a pretty good. They both have a pretty good defensive strategies. So this map doesn't actually have any new resources to provide. So let's see how this goes. All right. And again, Knights of Camelot as red. They already start off building Crusaders, so they're actually winning a little bit in the unit health department. Citrus Sky is building up their lattice of profits. We know that later on they'll end up building a Crusaders as well, but not just yet. Is there a face on this one? I sort of see like a, yeah, I sort of see a man with horns, a little bit of hair.
It's like a yak.
Yeah, like a yak, but with like a man's body. It's kind of terrifying. All right, both teams are building up their Crusaders, or actually, no, Knights of Camelot is building up its Crusaders and Preachers. We have yet to see any Preachers or any Crusaders yet from Citrus Sky. And I will let these matches play out just because we are at the finals round. All right. Pretty interesting. We see a little bit of damage on these over here. Seems that they're wandering a little bit too close to the profits up here, and they're just getting ticked off. We saw a little bit of a skirmish over here. They were actually able to knock off a few Crusaders that are wandering a little bit too close. Again, a pretty close matchup, and we know that Citrus Sky is going to pull out the unit health Crusaders in a little bit, so I'm pretty excited to see that. Both teams are not really making a move. We see that the fuel is pretty is stockpiling pretty generously on both teams. All right. All right. And as a reminder, while we're watching this match, we do have a Tech Talks before the final tournament on Saturday. So, what time is the Tech Talk? 1 p.m. So the final tournament is at 6 p.m. Oh, and we do see a push by Citric to make some Crusaders. There is a Tech Talk at 1 p.m. There is food to be provided.
Disney has this stuff. Okay, so Disney is like, they're amazing. So not only do they give out these like incredible Mickey Mouse pens, like I have them. Anyway, they have these like Rice Krispie treats that are Mickey Mouse shaped, and they're dipped in chocolate, and they set like hundreds.
Okay.
So yeah.
All right. Listen. Yeah. In addition to pizza, currently in the match, Citrus Sky has started building out its Crusaders. So yes, we are seeing a little bit more of a unit health push, which is great. If you're listening, if you could hear Josh, Disney does have a Tech Talk for Battlecode on 1 p.m. They're going to be talking about their streaming services, but also they're providing a lot of snacks and a lot of Disney paraphernalia. So please come. It'll be a great time, and it's right next to the final tournament, and which is not happening until 5 hours after the Tech Talk. Over here, we do see that our profits are. We do see that both teams have built up their lattices of Crusaders and Profits. It does seem that Knights of Camelot's lattice is a little bit more unruly than Citrus Sky's. You have this like really like pleasing Crusader Prophet Crusader sort of deal going on here. All right, and we've reached the end. Knights of Camelot takes the first round because of unit production and unit health. So we'll move on to the second round. All right, we're going into 1,000 turns again. There are more. Last time we had no resource deposits. This time we have Carbonite in the north, and we'll see how both teams deal with that. Immediately, Knights of Camelot takes Crusaders to make sure that nothing's happening, although a Crusader gets picked off by a Prophet, but then the Prophet is able to then our Crusader is able to take it off and take off the church. It seems that over here they haven't really noticed that there's no church in this location. This is a prime area for churches. Otherwise, both teams are managing their economies pretty well. Very nice churches over on both teams. Now it's a matter... Oh, and there's another church popping up back here, which is great. I don't think Knights of Camelot has really taken advantage of this. Like, just kidding, they just made a church as I was talking about them. And we'll move on. Really, there's still a lot of contention in the center area. Obviously, these pilgrims are scared of these units that Knights of Camelot has been making to defend their area. So even though Knights of Camelot has taken over the central area, the other team, Citric Sky, has not done the same. So that puts Knights of Camelot at a slight advantage. And also at the same time, Knights of Camelot has started building a variety of units, whereas Citric Sky has mostly been building these Prophets. Alright, these pilgrims are sort of stuck in their way. It seems that there's a little bit of fighting over here. Alright, there's a little bit of infighting just because of how close these churches are. You'll notice that this church actually has... Yeah, this church doesn't have anything on it. I wonder if that's going to hurt Citric Sky in the end. Both teams actually have built up a considerable store of carbonite, and knowing that this is the finals, both teams are probably prepared to make that endgame rush for unit health. So both teams are probably going to make Crusaders sometime soon. Or that's what I'm hoping for. Alright, we're down to turn almost 600. Getting ready for Citric Sky to start building out that very nice and satisfying lattice of Crusaders in addition to its Prophets. And at the same time, there's a little bit of fighting at this border, but not too much. Over in the unit health, we do see that Citric Sky is winning by a considerable margin over Knights of Camelot. Oh, okay, and now we start seeing Crusaders. Alright, this castle is starting to produce Crusaders. It's creating a pretty big margin in terms of unit health over here, which does make it seem like Citric Sky is going to take both games. And now Crusaders are being built over here. Very strange that Knights of Camelot seem to have really stopped building units down here and over here, and really they're only building units over here where they're getting ticked away. Alright. Pretty good endgame. We see a lot of Crusaders now. Just massive amounts of Crusaders onto Citric Sky's behalf. We see not too much going on. Oh, a pilgrim. A church has been built right here. None of these Crusaders seem to know do much about that, though. Oh, but these preachers have come over here and they're like taking out this wall. So I wonder if they're going to be effective. Oh my goodness, that's a lot of Crusaders that just died. Okay, and we see the tide slowly turning on Citric Sky in these last few rounds. I wonder if it'll be enough. Over here we're seeing the same thing where they're going in and doing a very organized attack. It seems that Citric Sky is running out of fuel for some reason, even though it doesn't seem that they're really doing that much. Anyways, these Crusaders are making a huge difference in this last turn, and barely Citric Sky wins. 5.3 thousand unit health versus 5.2 thousand unit health, winning by 100. That means Citrus Sky takes this finals, and we'll be moving on into the runoff. All right, over here. Nice. Okay, great. All right, we're getting seed, gigantic seed over here. There is a central area of carbonite, which is probably pretty important. And with that, we're just going to start. All right, again, pilgrims, immediately. We are, oh, I forgot to check. I'm going to pause this for a second. So we have Citrus Sky as red and Knights of Camelot as blue now. So Citrus Sky has actually managed to take this central area. Great on it. We'll see how that fares in the end game. Okay, originally it seems that Knights of Camelot was going to try to rush that other area, but now it's defended pretty well. So I wonder if either team is really going to, if Citrus Sky is able to hold that central area for the rest of the game. All right, things are... All right, that pilgrim is a little bit scared off by this encroaching wall of Crusaders and Prophets. All right. Moving on to turn almost 500, Citrus Sky has the lead in unit health. They also have a lead in terms of Crusade having the central area. Wait, can you just check that Citrus Sky is blue, or which team is Citrus Sky and which team is Knights of Camelot? Oh no. Okay.
So in the Toulon, they flip it.
Oh,
actually,
we don't.
We don't have a. Yeah. So basically, we don't play this last game. I don't think this last game we can play.
Wait, then what am I playing?
What? Well, we have a finals, right?
Yeah.
It's Knights of Camelot versus Citrus Sky.
Yeah.
And there's one more game to determine who wins another game. So now we find out.
Oh, okay. Okay. So, I guess, so they don't flip it what we do, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
No, they do flip it. We don't, but it doesn't matter at all.
Oh, I mean, but like red-blue, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so in this case, even though it's flipped at Citrus Sky, it says on Challenge that Citrus Sky is red, they're blue, actually, right?
Yes.
Okay, great. Because it seems, I was wondering, because it seems that the AI playing red seemed a lot more like Knights of Camelot than it did to be Citrus Sky, or at least the way that it's building Crusaders and Prophets blue seems to be matching that a little bit more carefully. In which case, currently, Citrus Sky has now started building its Crusaders. They're very evenly matched in terms of unit health, so it's going to really come down to like the final bit. Although it's going to be pretty interesting if Knights of Camelot tries the same endgame rush and to make that final push. It does seem that although they have that central area, they are still very evenly matched, which means that Knights of Camelot will have to do something else to make sure that they have enough unit health to secure a victory. The margin is growing a little by little. It seems that Knights of Camelot is up by 1,000 right now, and we'll have to see if they're able to keep that until the game ends. Now, unlike last time where they built a preacher army, this time they're winning by just sheer unit health. So 6,120 carbon unit health to 5,150 for Citrus Sky. So Knights of Camelot actually take this. Now we're going to move to Citrus Sky being red and Knights of Camelot being blue. All right. Notice here that there are no really good places for church if you want to make if you're looking to make a church placement for simply mining resources. So, all right, we see that Citrus Sky is building up its profit lattices at all three castle locations, both teams are taking very good advantage of their resources. All resource tiles are being utilized except for this carbonite back here. Just this one over here. But everything else is... So we see Knights of Camelot taking a early lead in terms of carbonite or unit health, but that all can change, especially since we know that Citrus Sky will probably build a few more Crusaders at the end. Alright, and we see a very healthy mix of, not too healthy, but a pretty good mix of Prophets, and Crusaders, and this one Preacher that's sort of chilling in the backseat down here. It seems to be having a castle talk, actually. Oh, all of these seem to be castle talking.
I would be castle talking. I think it's very difficult. This game is very signal and communication restrictive, and if you're not utilizing your signaling capabilities, it's almost impossible to do.
That's true. So, I mean, like, so Citrus Sky, I haven't actually been monitoring any of the units. Specifically, it seems that Citrus Sky is not really talking in terms of this, like, profit lattice, but it seems that at the very least, Knights of Camelot is sending some sort of heartbeat back to their castles, which is pretty cool.
Well, a castle can tell when it is.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because it stops showing up on the list of this. Because they stop receiving castle talk, right? Because
I see.
Castle talk is 0 each turn. It's sort of like an alive signal.
Oh, okay, great. Alright, so again, we start seeing Crusaders being built by Citrus Sky. Unfortunately, they're getting picked off because this map is just too small to really have that many Crusaders. If only they were filling up this area, then they'd be doing a little bit better. This one Preacher is just chilling in the backseat. I wonder how that got there. Actually, no, we have 2 Preachers now. Very cool. Unfortunately, these Preachers are just... Crusaders are just sort of throwing themselves at the enemy team. Alright. We start to see other places start building Crusaders. So now we have a pretty even match. This really could go to anyone, especially since now there were no like resource deposits. Those Crusaders at the bottom still are just killing themselves, unfortunately. But at the same time, it seems that they are also starting to just throw themselves at the enemy team, which is really unfortunate. Those Preachers are not making it far enough before they just die. Alright, we have a difference of 1,000 in terms of unit health, although that gap is closing. Oh, no. It seems like a pretty constant gap of 1,000 in between the two, in between these Crusaders dying here and these other units dying up here. Yeah, but there are a lot of Crusaders up here and a lot of Crusaders over here. Red blue has hoarded a large amount of carbonite, so maybe they're going to do some sort of trick in the last few to sort of get everything up and running. We'll see. But really, there's a lot of unused carbonite, and they really should be taking advantage of that. We'll see if anything happens. Alright, we're down to the last 10 turns. Alright, so at the very end, we have Citrus Sky having 5.4k and Knights of Camelot having 4.1k. So that was the second round. Citrus Sky won that, which means we're going to the very last match to determine who's winning the high school tournament. So again, Knights of Camelot is red, and Citrus Sky is blue. And we're only having 515 turns, which means someone is dying. And immediately we have a lot of infighting right here because these castles are so close together. Yeah, we start to see both of them defending their respective churches, which is great. This pilgrim has noticed that there is actually a bunch of things over here, and it just says nope. We're going to speed this up a little bit. All right. So again, Knights of Camelot, both teams building out their armies. Knights of Camelot opting for its very nice profit lattice, and Citrus Sky opting for its lattice of these profits, and Nisakama doing this larger like conglomeration sort of deal. I'm wondering who's actually going to get picked off. It's very unfortunate that this castle is so exposed, actually. So it might be that Citrus Sky is just going to move into it. All right. So turn 400 out of 500. Still no attacks to be made. Oh, just kidding. A small attack. Oh, my goodness. Yes. So it does seem like Citrus Sky is attacking red. So Knights of Camelot is taking damage. These profits are just moving forward. All right, and it does seem to be, yes. So Knights of Camelot has had their castle destroyed. Citrus Sky ends up taking this last match, and that also makes them the winner of the high school tournament. So congratulations. That was a very intense last round. Did I mark the right one? Citrus Sky. All right, excellent. Thank you to everyone who participated. There are a lot of really interesting strategies out there, and a lot of really cool things that a lot of the AI did. And we look forward to seeing a lot of more other interesting AI during the during the newbie tournament tomorrow, and also during the finalist tournament, both of which will be streamed.
And also, so for the two top teams for the high school tournament, your code submission deadline is the same time as it is for the final tournament, it's 8 p.m. And during the final tournament, we'll, given with the seeding from, whoever who technically won this.
Citrus Sky.
Citrus Sky, and then that's a second. So Citrus
Yeah.
Sky will be red, Camelot will be blue, and they'll play a rapid to see who the final is.
Okay, excellent. Yeah. So yeah. So we look forward to seeing everyone. Citrus Sky and Knights of Camelot will be joining us actually in Boston. So we look forward to seeing them. Other announcements: if you are a newbie, if you want to participate in a newbie tournament, we did send instructions through the MIT mailing list. So if you weren't registered for a class and you want to participate, and you are new to Battlecode and are an MIT student, please let us know. Email battlecode@mit.edu immediately, because we'll be running the matches at 8 p.m. and you definitely don't want to miss that. All right, those are it for announcements. Thank you so much for joining us today. Let's just check for questions. Are there questions on Twitch? All right, excellent. In that case, have a great day, everyone, and we'll be going as well. Goodbye.